Following on an absolute butt shovel of requests, today we're going to talk about freehand. Hello YouTube. Hello YouTube indeed. So yeah, freehand. A subject that a lot of people think is quite scary. A lot of people don't necessarily have the confidence to have a go at it. I think, like most things in the hobby, there's a few gateway drugs, there's a few sort of easy ways in that if you give those a shot first, can help you build confidence, maybe try some more ambitious projects. So I'm going to show you 3 different things today that I think are a good start into freehand. A couple of ways that you can just kind of have a little dabble, and then something a tiny bit more advanced without being too much of an overload. Hopefully you're going to like it, hopefully you're going to find it useful, hopefully it's going to get you painting some freehand. Let's find out. Okay, let's get involved. No need to talk about colours today, we're just focusing on technique. So I've got the big magnifier on here, and the reason I've got the big magnifier on here is because the first thing I really want to convey to you with freehand is brush angle. It's a thing that really acts as a stumbling block for a lot of people. So I'm trying super hard here to keep my brush as close as I possibly can to 90 degrees to the surface I'm painting on. Essentially, you know, like how with a pen, you can kind of angle a pen a little bit and it doesn't really mind, it doesn't really complain. With a brush, if you angle it too much, it instantly starts to struggle to deposit paint, you start to struggle to be able to control lines. So we're starting out with just some basic symbols here, and I'm just trying to keep my brush as near to 90 degrees as I can whenever I'm doing anything precise. And then just getting the paint laid in nice and carefully. You can see quite clearly from this, my paint is also very thin. That is another thing that is very important with this process. Your paint wants to be pretty much as thin as you can get it, to the point it will still cover in basically one coat. There are, you know, gonna always be some exceptions where certain paints you just can't really thin them and get them to go in one coat, but there's a bit of a mega zoom just so you can get a good detailed look. And you can see, you know, it's still a little bit scruffy. You can, if you want to, go in and tidy that up, but for purposes of these kind of rooms that I'm painting here, actually just leaving my edges a little bit frayed and a little bit scruffy kind of works for the look I'm going for. Otherwise you just come in with whatever your base colour is and just square off your edges and things like that, and that's, you know, it's exactly the same as painting the freehand itself. So there's me just chucking a few more symbols around on my Contemptiboy. And next, as a kind of add-on to this same process, I want to show you some stuff with scripts now as well. You see I put a little dot in the middle there to act as a spacer. Originally, because I just wanted to do the Roman numeral 17, and obviously that's an even number of symbols, I put it in there literally as a spacer with the intention of deleting it. I ended up deciding I really liked how it looked and leaving it in. But that would be the first tip when it comes to script on scrolls, is you want each character spaced evenly, so if you need to kind of add a little marker here or there, just make sure you knock it in a colour that you're confident that you can clean up. But it's okay to pop little markers in just to kind of help you get things, you know, evenly spaced and looking nice. You can also see there, as I said previously, I used my base colour to square off some of those lines because I wasn't happy with them, and then just tidied them up. Also doubling a couple of lines here just because I like the way it looks. But that's really just a brief little explanation of scripty scrolls. Not really something I needed to spend too much time on, it's not a main point of the video, but I thought I'd show it seeing as I was doing it. Now we're going to go on to scribbly script. This is where you want your paint so painfully thin it's not even funny, which is why it's best to only really do this in colours like black or white, colours that cover really well. If you try and do this in, you know, things like a yellow, for example, that are super transparent, you're just going to have a really hard time with it. So what I'm doing here, again, you can see my brush is really locked at a 90-degree angle. I've also got my hand cradled around the work so that I can rest the palm of my left hand, in my case I'm left-handed, I can rest the palm of my left hand on the thumb area of my other hand, and it sort of creates this homogenized mass of stability. What it means is that kind of if one part of me moves, everything else moves equally with it. So that helps me mitigate any shakiness in my hands, essentially just by keeping everything locked together. I also keep both my elbows on the desk while I'm doing this, and so that combination of having a stable point of anchorage on the desk there just really kind of helps to, combine with bulking all of my sort of hand mass together so that everything moves as one. Really helps just mitigate any shakiness. And the actual application of the script itself, the only pitfall I'd say to watch out for is just don't put it on too chunky. If you find that it's going on too chunky, too fat, and it looks really blocky and big, thin your paint a bit more, take a deep breath, try and work more off of the very tip of your brush. You really want to be just using the last couple of hairs of your brush, otherwise it's going to be too big. After that, we're now going to get into some symbol painting. So this is probably the most advanced thing I'm going to show today, and the idea here is not really to do anything that's too advanced. So we're just doing a word bearer's book with a flame, and as you'll see here, so I don't need a ton of precision. I don't need a ton of precision starting off here. So you're going to see that I'm not really too worried about my brush being at 90 degrees. It's kind of leaning in toward the camera at the minute, and that's because I'm just sort of blocking in the shape. When I come back in and start being a bit more fine and a bit more tidy, then my brush is going to again go back onto the very tip of the brush, and it's going to be much more at 90 degrees to the work surface. When you're blocking in, you can be a bit more loosey-goosey, a bit more relaxed, and it is good to do that because it can get a bit tense painting in that very sort of tight way for too long, and it can just sort of make you feel a bit uptight. It kind of takes a bit of the fun out of it. So where you get opportunities to be a bit more loosey-goosey, I do recommend you do it. So I've just blocked in the basic shape of the book there, and then now I'm going to change to a bone colour. First I'm going to magically hair dry this. You'll see it literally dry before your very eyes. There you go. Right. So now with this bone colour, you see I'm much more on the tip of my brush now. You can tell because my knuckles are starting to get in the way of the camera. And that is because I'm having to come right over at the same sort of angle that the lens is looking at. Luckily you can still kind of see past, so I didn't waste the footage. But because I'm trying to be a lot more precise now, you can see I'm just riding the tip of my brush a lot more. And now I'm starting to put in the shape of the pages, and then go around that and tidy it up with the black. And again, as I go around and tidy it up with the black, I'm much more on the tip of my brush again, being much more precise again. We'll just start to do a bit of infill. The black really nicely sort of acted as the shade colour for me, so I just had to build up layers of the bone over this, which made my life really easy. Now I've got that how I want it, and I wanted to show you how to do the flame as well. So again, right on the tip of my brush, and this time, because I'm mostly painting down towards the top of the shoulder pad, I've actually flipped the miniature upside down as well. That allows me to keep that stable base. I was saying with the base of my left hand resting on the thumb of my right hand, whilst still being wrapped around the miniature, so that's going to help mitigate those shakes for me. And it also means that I'm always drawing lines in a downward direction, which for most people tends to be more comfortable. Typically, if you're sketching lines of any kind, the ones that you draw down pulling towards your own body will always feel a little bit more comfortable. So that's a big recommendation. Get this red blocked in. Again, right off the tip of my brush, you see, because I need those points on the flames to be nice and sharp, I'm really riding the last couple of hairs of the brush. And that's where that stable base is going to really help, because instead of trying to sort of poke that freehand in, I'm able to get really close. My fingers are right near the end of the ferrule. Everything is locked together and tight. So you can see I can actually allow myself quite a bit of hand movement and still not run any stray paint anywhere because I have such a stable base. Now I'm switching to an orange, and we're going to start to speed up the footage now. There's no need to keep the footage at 1 times. Now I'm just sort of snipping in a little bit each time. Kind of the same way you treat a highlight, getting lighter and lighter as I go further up the flame. And eventually stopping at Avalon Sunset. I didn't really want to go to like a really, really bright fiery yellow with this, just because I kind of like the idea of it being a bit more old and a bit more washed out, and I end up doing a load of battle damage and weathering on this guy over the top of all of the freehand, so I wanted that to all kind of look a bit worn as well. More of that frilly script around the sides, and then that's what you get for that. But what do you get in the grand scheme of things for covering a miniature like this in freehand? You get something like that. Look at him, he looks battle ready. Adding that weathering over the top obviously really helps kind of set that freehand back. But God, I love this miniature. I am so happy. I do have to give special thanks to Rhiannon on Twitter as well. She actually sent this to me completely free of charge, and all I had to do was buy a claw for it. So thank you so much, Rhiannon. I've added this to my army. I love it. I'm very happy with it. You have done me a massive solid there. Don't just look at him! Look at him! Beautiful. Alright, I'll shut up for a minute. You can just enjoy him for one more rotation. There you go, some nice easy ways to enter into freehand. Get you started, just kind of get those creative juices flowing. Try and make things a little bit easier for you going forward if you want to push into some more ambitious projects, or if you just want to get an idea of some of the key things that help you build those base skills. These are the places where I would start. That little squiggly freehand, we do it all the time on things like purity seals, on space marines, on banners, on books, that kind of thing. It's a very common thing to use, so kind of understanding the fundamentals behind how to get the best out of that, how to get the best out of basic symbol drawing, and then, onto some slightly more advanced symbols and stuff. I think those are really key building blocks upon which you can kind of come up with some good grounding to get you confident with freehand. I hope you liked it. I love my Contemptor. He's sitting with my Word Bearer's Force. I can see him. He's just over there, and he's sat in front of my Word Bearer's Force at the moment, looking very meaty. I call him the Chonk Messiah 5000. I've loved painting him, so I did want to find an opportunity to share something about his painting experience with you, and freehand ended up being the perfect thing. So folks, please, I beg you, don't forget to like the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because that really helps me get seen. I will be back later this week with more, but until then, have fun freehanding, and I'll see you in the next one.